But we don't end there. You see, after 2026, we have plans to develop more satellites. With Mula, there's Mula series po, because with this satellite, we don't just build and have a satellite, we also acquire a license to rebuild this locally. And that will encourage and help grow our domestic space industry. And you see here also the telecom satellite, which is what I will discuss next. Next slide, please. Mr. Chair, we are looking at a very grim picture here, and that is the fact that the Philippines is the only major ASEAN country with no current sovereign geostationary satellite program. Currently po, no? I mentioned earlier about our Coast Guard suffering communication disruption because their access to satellite is disrupted or jammed. And one of the reasons for that is having no direct control of the satellites themselves. By having at least one satellite that we fully control, this will create this security po that we need. And we are trying to address this in collaboration with the ICT, our Department of National Defense, and also with our Coast Guard, who is one of our direct users of this technology. So aside from the satellites po, we also build the ground infrastructure that support satellite development and operations. First, I'd like to highlight the ground stations that PhilSA is currently managing right now. They were developed under DOST din po before as part of our space program, but now we're turned over to PhilSA. So this include the ground station in Quezon City and also in Davao, and I think we're discussing po with DOST on the Iloilo ground station. But we are also building a new one next year po, a new ground station. And also, for the first time po, a satellite assembly and integration testing facility. Kasi before po, I mean, all the satellites that we build, we use other countries' laboratory to build them. Except for the Maya, the CubeSat po, we built it here, but we have a small laboratory in the university that allows us to do that. But if we want to upscale it and attract industry, we need to invest in an infrastructure that can support local industry. And that's what we are doing with building our satellite assembly, integration, and testing facility. And lastly po, I mean, I have a couple of slides na lang po pala. So, but before my last slide, so this one, this year we will be publishing the Philippine Space Industry Development Plan. So it's a roadmap, a 10-year roadmap on how we want to build our space industry. I've been talking about it earlier po, but there is a potential here. I already mentioned how much this industry is worth, and we want to be there and na hindi po tayo mahuli. So there's really a potential in developing our space industry. Next is, you may have heard po in the news that we are also now looking at developing a spaceport. A couple of weeks ago, we signed a 5-party agreement with PhilSA, the ICT, CESA, a Korean company, and a local company that will demonstrate rocket launch here from Philippine soil. This is not going to space pa po, but this is just suborbital. It's a sounding rocket. But by doing this test launch, we will achieve 2 things. First is a demonstration of liquid propellant launch, so that's on the technology side, which will be the first time here in the Philippines. And then on the policy side, along with this test launch po, ilalatag natin yung guidelines for safe conduct of these activities. So that will be coming hand in hand with the launch, with this test launch. And this is something po that we are hoping to achieve within a year's time frame. Okay, so this is my last slide na po, Mr. Chair. There are many more that we're doing at PhilSA, but I just want to highlight, of course, behind those activities, the progress that we have made, is the people. The agency po right now is 246 people strong. Maybe it's not that much really, but we started in 2020 with one. So for us, this is good development. And we are growing not just internally. You also see here po our education programs benefiting scholars. We have a partnership with Fulbright, and we have our Ad Astra scholarship program as well. And we cater to interns din po for short-term training and appreciation of what we do at PhilSA. So I'll end here po muna, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, and let me know if you need more information po about what we are doing at the Philippine Space Agency. Thank you po.
Thank you for your presentation. I do agree. The vital role right now for me is internal, looking for the hazards. Our city had our master development plan done in Singapore, and it was very thorough. It's a 6-volume master plan. And hazard mapping, the mapping and hazard mapping comprise one whole volume. Okay, so it's very important, right? It's inward looking. I think at this point in time, like when Haiyan came, the ones who warned us were the Americans, diba? From the naval station in Hawaii. I think we should be more open in that. The PSA should have an open platform so that anybody can access it sooner. When parang make the people aware that if they go to the PSA, they can access maps and access current data, especially when we have a disaster, diba, on our hands, either past, pre or post. Kasi importante yan eh. Okay. Now, I'd like to, at this time, also acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Banban Amantado. I've worked with your father-in-law and the members of your family from the 10th Congress up to the 20th. So you're very welcome in our committee. You know, Congressman Marquez and I take this committee very seriously. This is my second sled as chair of this committee. And kung ayaw nila, kami gusto namin. Okay? Kasi people don't understand. This is the basis of everything. For example, you talk about space being a $1 trillion industry. If we only get 1% of it, that's $1 billion. Right there. Right? If that's the tiny slice. It's still $1 billion. It'll pay for your agency and may extra pa. Okay? So, rest assured, whatever you need, like that MCIA 114, if that prevents you, I'm amazed because the 4th largest island in the Philippines, our island, hasn't been briefed or capacity builded yet. I'll pay for it personally. I have the resources, so there's a difference between me and I guess others. I deploy my own resources if necessary because that's life saving, no? So. Yeah. At Bohol, yun. Please, yung Visayas, wag niyo naman kalimutan kasi watak-watak kami pero marami rin kami kaya, no? That being said, okay, shall we move on to the next so that we don't waste anybody's time? I believe that the Department of Science and Technology, can you please explain what we're here for?
The second to present is from the Office of the Undersecretary for Research and Development regarding balik scientists. Yusek Bunday.
Thank you very much, Your Honors. And I think I have my slides as well. If the Secretariat can flash the slides. Thank you. So the Balik Scientist Program started off as early as 1975. It's almost more than 50 years. So, golden anniversary na po. It started in 1975, but during that time, there was very limited funds to support the Balik scientists. So the next slide will show us that the Balik scientist actually is a brain gain program initiative of the government which aims to tap the ingenuity and the expertise of the Filipinos abroad. And this is to strengthen the science, technology, and innovation capabilities of our local researchers. This complements what we have here and what we do not have here. So these are researchers being trained or mentored by the Balik scientists, both in the academe, the public, and the private sector, and even the industry. The next slide shows us that the program overview, it actually aims to accelerate the flow of new technologies in the Philippines from abroad, coming from our Filipino scientists who resides abroad. So they also are promoting knowledge sharing in this aspect that is vital to national development. And it also strengthens the capabilities of not only our researchers, but even our local government units as of the moment. The next slide provides us that the program, as I have stated earlier, started as early as 1975 through a presidential decree signed by former President Ferdinand Marcos. And this was strengthened through an executive order in 1993. But it was only in June 2018 that the program has been enacted into law through RA 11035. And DOST has put into place the implementing rules and regulations of the law in October of 2018. And over the years, its importance has been highly recognized by everybody. So the next slide will show us that these are the priority areas of the Balik scientists, where it's anchored on the Harmonized National Research and Development Agenda of 2022 to 2028. Further, these are implemented through the DOST 4 pillars, namely the human well-being, wealth creation, wealth protection, and sustainability. And now we would like also to implement these 4 pillars through what we call our horizon for economic development. The next slide will show us the incentives that we provide for the Balik scientists through our 3 sectoral planning councils of the department, who is in charge of the implementation of the Balik Scientists program, but it is through the Office of the Undersecretary for Research and Development that oversees the overall program implementation and likewise reports the accomplishments to several agencies needing its information. So there are general incentives provided by the Balik scientists such as travel and medical insurance and active participation in DOST R&D programs and projects. However, there are specific objectives, specific incentives per type of engagement. There are 3 kinds of engagement. One is the short-term, the medium-term, and the long-term Balik Scientist program engagement. So for the short-term and the medium-term, we provide 1 round-trip airfare and a daily allowance amounting to $200 per day or higher depending on the prevailing UNDP rate. And it should be noted, however, that the short-term and medium-term participation to DOST Research and Development Program is only limited, meaning they mentor the academe or the researchers, and it is the researchers who apply for research funds from the Department of Science and Technology. This is for accountability purposes. But usually, the balik scientists acts as advisors, as mentors to support in the project implementation. The long-term balik scientists are entitled to one-way ticket airfare, a special relocation benefit amounting to 40,000 pesos per month, which is on top of their salary provided by the host institution. The long-term balik scientists are those who repatriated already to stay in the Philippines for good. And they are hosted or they are engaged and salaried by the host institution. For example, a university can host one long-term balik scientist and they pay for their salary as professors or even as researchers. And the balik scientist, if he is on a long-term engagement already, may now participate to provide and submit proposals as project leaders. The next slide will show us the key accomplishments of the balik scientists. So from 2007 to 2018, the average number of balik scientists engagement was only around 26 balik scientists per year. But in 2019, after the enactment of the law, it reached to a total of about 57 balik scientists engaged per year. So you see the great jump in the engagement. So, but if you will also see that after 2019, there has been a decrease because of the COVID-19, where there was no exchanges of balik scientists due to closure of the borders. But as of March 2026, we have already a total of 700 balik scientists with 958 engagements, helping more than 165 institutions across 16 regions of the country. You will note that there is not a one-to-one correspondence between the balik scientists and the engagements because the balik scientists can do more balik scientists. They can come back several times and even be engaged for several times. The next slide will show us the distribution of the engagements. The next slide, please. The distribution of the engagement across the three sectors of the balik scientist. One will be on the industry, energy, and emerging technology. The other one on the agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources, and the third will be on health. And the largest portion, comprise about 43% of the total, is represented by the industry, energy, and emerging technology. So you see the expertise is really coming from the balik scientists when it comes to emerging technologies. And this is followed by the agriculture, aquatic, and natural resources, considering the nature of the Philippines, also in agriculture, which is 29.4%. And the health constitutes a share of 27.6%. The next slide will show us the key accomplishment. The balik scientist has partnered already with 165 host institutions. And these partnerships are vital in conducting research, innovation, and even capacity building in the Philippines. The next slide shows us the map where the baliks. Next slide, please. The balik scientist is present across the various regions of the Philippines, while the regions like BARM, Region 9, and 12 have limited presence. The National Capital Region has the largest number of engagements with 407, followed by Region 4A with 75, and Region 6 with 51. So the balik scientist is actively working to increase the number of host institutions and the balik scientist engagements in the region. The next slide will show us that the program has continuously been exceeding its target in terms of our outputs. Between 2021 to 2025, A total of 460 promotional activities were conducted. We need to promote the Balik Scientist program because most of our scientists are not aware of the program. So what we do is contact our Philippine embassies all over the world in order to promote and encourage them to have the engagement in the Philippines as Balik scientists. So in terms of research output, we already have about 984 publications with the Balik scientists and the researchers themselves, and 151 of which are indexed in ISI or the Scopus Index, reflecting actually the strong contribution to scholarly literature, and they are counted under our Global Innovation Index. So the program also plays a role in innovation and development with 1,049 technologies introduced and projects assisted. Additionally, it established 65 partnerships by assisting the host institution engage with their network outside of the country. The next slide will show us that from 2021 to 2025 alone, our Balik scientists have trained 117,000 people through different capacity building activities. The next slide shows that to connect with more Filipino scientists and experts abroad, the Balik Scientist program has been continuously promoted and in partnership, of course, with the Philippine embassies. The next slide will show us the Balik Scientist program that drives innovation by introducing new ideas, technologies, and advanced research methods. The first ever Filipino-made mobile biocontainment laboratory for animal health diagnostics was launched by a Balik scientist who stayed for good and has put up the company called Bioassets Corporation is Dr. Homer Pantua, who is also an advisor of the Virology and Vaccine Institute. And the next one is Dr. Irene Rodriguez, who led the establishment of the first metallomics facility in the Philippines, and this strengthens the capability of the Philippines to study trace minerals, micronutrients, and their interactions in marine systems. Based on the UP Marine Science Institute, and this is funded by DOST also, it supported the research that uses metals and metalloenzymes as environmental indicators for better understanding of ocean health and marine biogeochemical cycles. The next, for the health sector, the Balik scientist, Dr. Jonel Saludes of the University of San Agustin, in collaboration with a local private pharmaceutical company in Iloilo, has launched the first bioprinting laboratory in Western Visayas. So instead of testing the ointments or the products for pharmaceutical in human skin, they bioprinted the skin in order to test that ointments and other skin-derived ointments. So another thing that they did was this breaks the resistance from skin pathogens, making it very effective. They also used and sent in already in commercial form the Skivios. They had this Skivios from Cadios and is now good with antimicrobial skin effectivity. Another Balik scientist, Dr. Christine Joyce Porto, an adult neurologist and expert in molecular medicine and neurogenetics, leads a pioneering neurogenetics programs at the Quirino Memorial Medical Center. And the program is to translate advanced genetic research into direct patient care, particularly addressing alarming rise of the early onset of stroke among Filipinos. For the industry, energy, and emerging technology sector, the next slide will show us that the Balik scientist, Dr. Mario Rebosura Jr., brings extensive expertise to Maynilad Water Services as his host institution and helped improve Maynilad's wastewater treatment processes. So his contribution focused on biosolids management, enhancing anaerobic digestion facilities, and promoting sustainable energy recovery from waste. So his work supports DOST and Maynilad's goal of moving towards a circular economy for a more sustainable future. Another Balik scientist, Dr. Angelo Bañares, led the establishment of the University of Mindanao's Biomolecular Engineering Laboratory, which is again pioneering facility in the Philippines for synthetic biology and metabolic engineering. And he is currently engaged with the Pampanga State University as well in developing the Center for Advanced Biotechnology and Bioengineering for Circular Economy. A key objective of his engagement is to promote the use of microorganisms as natural chemical factories to produce essential molecules for various industries, reducing industrial resilience on fossil fuels and providing more sustainable solution. So the next slide shows us that the Balik scientists also contribute significantly to scientific advancement of their host institutions and the country as a whole through different activities. And some of them are capacity building and knowledge sharing, assessment activities, R&D activities, production of policy papers and journal articles, and even curriculum development for our state colleges and universities, and of course policy review and formulation, and of course advancing linkages. The next slide shows us that in addition to the activities of the Balik scientists, they also connect their host institutions with international universities or even academe and their other networks in order to leverage their own global networks. So they strengthen ties with local institutions, fostering partnerships with the support of the national development. So they refer and they help identify and link our institutions to their networks abroad so that they expand the program's reach and impact. And they also create channels of collaboration across borders and discipline. The next slide shows us that without the host institution, the Balik scientist will not be engaged. And the host institution actually can be a government agency, an LGU, a public or private academic institution, or a Filipino-owned enterprise or organization in the Philippines registered with the SEC, or even Cooperative Development Authority, or even the Department of Trade and Industry that will actually undertake science, technology, and innovation activities, and even research and development initiatives. So to ensure that the research activities and other tasks, the host institution should also work to provide appropriate resources or counterpart incentives such as space in the institution, even support for the travel within the institution, and even coordination activities or even support staff. The next slide shows us that in order to engage a Balik scientist, a host institution will just write the Department of Science and Technology requesting for a Balik scientist, or they can also endorse a specific Balik scientist candidate, and we will contact them and we will try to evaluate the engagement. or alternatively, the institution seeking to connect with experts can directly coordinate even with the Philippine Embassy and ask for a specific expertise that they need. These are just the testimonials of our Balik scientists. The Balik scientists, actually, we think that it is more than a vehicle for national development. It's a journey of fulfillment also for our Filipino scientists. After years of being out of the country, they come back, and this is what we call patriotism already. So they are captured in the voices of the Balik scientists themselves. Some of them share how the program gave them the chance actually to reconnect with their roots in the Philippines. Some of them are already naturalized Filipinos, naturalized citizens abroad. Others are even born there but with Filipino blood, and they are not aware already of their roots here in the Philippines. So it was a joy for them to reconnect, rediscover, and making a difference in their own homeland. So as I am about to end, I would like to take this opportunity to reach out to all of you to help us encourage also more Filipino scientists to be back and serving the Philippines through the Balik Scientist Program. The support that has been given by the law is that currently we are provided a total amount of 170 million pesos to engage Balik scientists. But if we wanted to really pursue the Balik scientist as a vehicle for development, I think we should be provided more funds in order to engage more Balik scientists. And at the department level, we were not given the funds. It's only in the councils that implement the Balik scientists. But overall, like I'm accountable to the outputs of the Balik scientists. So that is where we actually needed funds, and even people who will implement the Balik Scientist Program. So with that, I am very thankful for the opportunity. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you for your presentation. It's obvious that your budget, that 174 million, is minuscule compared to what we waste. Okay, I won't discuss anymore that issue because it's already been regurgitated to death. But as one of the top taxpaying Filipinos, I feel really horrible. In fact, I feel violated. That all the taxes I paid in the last decade, which are substantial, pretty much get wasted. So anyway, that being said, please, you can count on this committee. Those of us who are present here are active. We will fight for you. We will provide the funding because funding directs policy and action. And so we intend to do that in the 20th Congress. Thank you. Yes, I'd like to add, I discovered a Balik scientist. Her name is Dr. Christina Clarice Escueta. She came from Harvard. And she's doing, on her own, she came back. Her research is based on nanotechnology and cancer. So she's now at the Eastern Visayas State University. So perhaps you should get in touch with her. She came from Harvard. So she came back on her own. So sayang, di ba? Kung pwedeng we can probably invite her, or this committee will invite her at a certain point to share her findings and share her experiences as a Balik scientist. Anyway, Committee Secretary, next item, please.
Mr. Chair, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Just one question lang, ma'am. Tungkol sa mga Balik scientists, no? When they meron po ba tayong clear path sa kanila pag bumalik sila dito in terms of, let's say, government placement or academe or in what industry, or are they left to find their own future here if ever if ever, yung opportunities ba for them, sila na ang bahalang maghanap? Or ano po ba yung protocol natin dyan?
Sir, as I said earlier, it's a graduated progression. Short term, they come here, test the waters, and see what they can see in the Philippines. Medium term, short term is from 15 days to 6 months. And 6 months to 1 year is the medium term. And then for the long term, that is where they come back for good. So for the short term, they test the water, see how they can contribute, but also test what they can get out of because they will be giving up a lot from abroad. So the medium term, if they really want to help, then they do research already, help institutions, and then see and how often they can be coming back, depending on their schedule. But the long term is the one that they finally decide if they see that there is opportunity for them and for their expertise to grow. Like for example, some of our balik scientists who came for good has 6-digit salaries abroad, but they opted to come here and take the salary of a professor. Now they serve as vice chancellor for a specific university. Others have put up their own companies. So they see that their expertise can contribute more to the industry, for example, by putting up this company. And we help them in terms of providing support when it comes to research, even when it comes to providing them to buy equipment and putting up initially their respective companies here. So we are actually from the short term to the long term, we have been there guiding them on where their path should be going. So, but we cannot, of course, force them to do and return for good. But it's in their own volition, and if they see that there are opportunities, then they come back. We have several already, the scientists who came back, maybe more than 20 already. Yes, sir. So.
Okay, I just suggested the assembly here today. How can I, me as a citizen, how can I get access to all of this information you've already shared? In other words, parang walang traction kasi even if I don't know where to access it from the Philippine Space Agency, the OST, how will I know where to look? And if I, who has a basic interest in this, a primordial because of my duty, what about those who were just curious? So I'd like to know how your social media footprint is like and how we can access all of these things that you've talked about. Because important ito, and a lot of the things that you've already mentioned are admirable. It's patriotic. Now, how can people have access to this, or how will they know that it even exists?
Sir, first, we have a website for the Balik Scientist. Second, we have our social media platform for the Balik Scientist. And third, we have coordinated with our Philippine embassies abroad, where they know the platform as well, and they are familiar with our Balik Scientist program. And whenever any of us goes abroad, we make sure that there is like a forum where all the Filipinos are invited in order to be aware of what the Balik Scientist program is. So that's how we do it, sir.
Perhaps we can do is require government-owned and controlled corporations and mass media to provide certain number of hours of just free advertisement. Because and that's creditable to the leases of whoever is leasing the airtime or block time of those facilities. if perhaps we can require them to provide at least so many 100 hours a month and a year, or so that it's, unless you go to mass media, hindi malalaman, right?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. Thank you. For Philsa's case, we are in SOCMED, Facebook, 100,000 followers, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. But you're correct, Mr. Chair, unless we breach the mass media, I think very little information gets to the citizen po. So we'll appreciate the support, Mr. Chair.
Like to jump a step and recognize the National Academy of Sciences, because the person has other commitments. Please, Dr. De La Peña, you have the floor, and you can make your presentation.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to also make some comments regarding the Balik scientist, because I have seen very good experience that we had with them. The percentage of short term going to medium term is quite high, but from medium term to long term, it is small. And if there is one place that I can show you to see how the Balik scientists have helped, um, I would show you the University of San Agustin in Iloilo, because at that time the University of San Agustin had actually problems, the labor problems, etc., etc. But they had a new president who was more, shall we say, aggressive or risk-taking. He's a priest, of course. And that was the time when a couple came in as Balik scientists short-term. But they are both graduates of the University of San Agustin. One is from chemistry and the other one is from pharmacy. They spent 18 years abroad, okay, working in the universities in Australia and also in the US, and until they decided to try coming home as short term. When they came home under short term, they had a very good project in mind, which the DOS3 through the National Research Council of the Philippines funded. And it has something to do with the experience in Iloilo, where the records show that the how do you call it, the microorganism where iloxone was developed actually came from Iloilo. And unfortunately, the person who discovered it, who worked on it, was only an employee of what company is that? Keller ba? But it's an American company, and therefore all the benefits from the intellectual property went to the American company. People do not even know that the original microorganisms came from Iloilo. So this couple really focused on work to find microorganisms at the bottom of the sea. So the first thing that they did was to devise equipment that can use in going deep, okay, and to train people to dive to get the samples. The first time I went to the University of San Agustin, they had already a repository of around 300 microorganisms taken from the bottom of the sea. Before I left as secretary, they already had 3,000. And this can really be the subject of work for an entire generation ahead, because there are so many things that can be developed. The good thing is that they stayed. And San Agustin had really, shall we say, attained a very high level of recognition for their work. There are other examples in the area of Balik scientists, but we just have to make it known. Sabi mo nga, Chair, parang hindi alam ng ordinary people yung mga nangyayari. I agree with you. And something has to be improved in the area of dissemination. So yun lang po. At merong isang parang gustong mangyari. tungkol dito, hindi lang scientist ang pwedeng magbalik. Yung mga nagkaroon ng mapakahabang experience sa industry abroad should be accorded the same privilege. They may not be scientists, but they have a lot to bring in. People who have worked for decades abroad and have learned a lot of new technologies, they can be considered as balik industrialists, balik engineers, or whatever. They don't consider themselves as scientists, but they know a lot. So I think that's something that we can probably consider having a legislation on that. Thank you, Mr. Your Honor.
Well, I think the word to capture that is human capital.
Yes, yes.
So it doesn't matter what field you're in, oceanographers, deep drilling experts who drill up to over 1,000 meters. All of these, just the ocean alone, you will find so many things. Some of them are signal intelligence members. They used to be in the Navy. They know all these things that's happening now with China, where they're jamming us. They have answers for that if they were working in the U.S. Navy in submarines. So, precisely, intellectual property experts who are, in fact, human capital laden, like for me, I'm in agriculture. I want to go to the next level already. I'm thinking of putting probes already within the farms so that I know when it needs irrigation, and I'm going to electrify and automate everything. But how many can do that? I'm one of the few. So, but to share this with other people is important. I've known from the 80s that you have to balance your soil. Just the macro, micro, and trace elements, if they're out of whack, it affects your yields, So these are things that are easily passable, easily translatable, and the farmers will understand it immediately. Hindi mahirap. Even the return to organics is vital. So yes, perhaps we should expand the coverage not only for scientists but those with intellectual property capacity to provide human capital. I think we call it the Human Capital Act. So if you will help us draft that, we would be very welcome, and we would embrace it.
You mentioned two terms that will be the subject of my presentation: human capital and oceans. So anyway, I also like your idea, Your Honor, of requiring our media outfits to devote some time to cover science and technology in the same way that they cover many things that is purely entertainment. Okay. So I have a few slides to show, Your Honor, and I will start with the first page. So this is NAST is the National Academy of Science and Technology, and Pagtanaw is the Science, Technology, and Innovation Foresight that was developed in the year 2021. And they call it Pagtanaw 2050 because it is supposed to cover 30 years ahead, up to 2050. As a backgrounder, Mr. Chairman, I was invited by the Academy of Science of Malaysia in 2018 to witness the turnover of their Science, Technology, and Innovation Foresight to the Prime Minister. So it was an honor for me to be invited and to speak. And being innovative does not mean that everything will come from you. So I copied. In other words, I saw it is good. So when I came home, I asked the National Academy of Science and Technology, can we prepare a Science, Technology, Innovation Foresight for the Philippines? And they said yes. We provided the needed funds. And even if they had to work during the COVID period, this was from 2019 to 2021, they were able to come up with the document in November of 2021 and distributed it to the public in 2022, April. And this is what I would like to show you, Mr. Chair. Next slide. I won't deal much about what the National Academy of Science is. It's really a recognition body and supposed to be a policy-giving body, particularly to the executive, the legislative. Next slide. The mandates, as shown at the bottom, is really more of a recognition function. So it is the conferment of the Order of National Scientists, and in Malaysia, when they heard about conferment of national scientists, they were surprised because they don't have national scientists in Malaysia. I don't know whether they have already instituted. Next slide, please. The mandate, as shown here, is really more of policy recommendations, and of course, there are special concerns that we cover, and I will go through them one by one. Next slide, please. The advisory function. So we have linkages. This is, we belong to the network of academies. For example, we have the Academy of Australia, the Academy of Japan, the Academy of Malaysia, the Academy of Turkey. They are all linked with us through a network, and we compare notes from time to time. Next slide, please. We have the mandates as shown here. It's already repetitive. Formulation of policy recommendations on relevant science and technology concerns. And I have to admit, Mr. Chair, that the real medium through which these policies can be developed and translated into something strategic and actionable is through legislation. And I'm happy to repeat what Director Lita Suerte mentioned here, that for the past, I think, 2 decades, we have really passed very, very critical pieces of legislation, thanks to the Congress. It can deal with the organizational structure, it can deal with investments, it can deal with what to do in times of crisis, it can be related to incentives and policies related to national goals. So for example, during the COVID period, we had to convene the National Academy of Science to talk about specific decisions that were needed because of the crisis. Now, in terms of mandates na yun, ano? Now, Pagtanaw 2050 actually is based on a definition that was given to us. We can show maybe the definition from the European Commission on what foresight means. Nandiyan ba yun? Hindi, balik pa. An earlier slide. Wala dyan? Wala dyan. Anyway, baka ito yung ipinasingit namin. But when we talk of foresight, it is the application of systematic, participatory, future intelligence gathering and medium to long-term vision building process to informing present-day decisions and mobilizing joint actions. This is bringing together key agents of change and various sources of knowledge in order to develop strategic visions and anticipatory intelligence. What is good about having a foresight, Mr. Chair, is that even if you transition from administration to administration, there is something that they can look at. Yeah, okay. So, Pagtanaw 2050 is like that. And the objectives are the development of the Philippine scientific capital, human capital, financial capital, and physical capital up to the year 2050. And we also have to chart strategic science, technology, and innovation pathways, which I will show later on, and promote teamwork and exercise vigilance on cooperative action plans, because this is one finding that we have when we did a review. We are already reviewing this. We have finished the external review. The agencies concerned are all working in silos. So on a given issue, there is no convergence. If you talk of water, there are so many agencies that would like to retain their functions, and so we cannot proceed. Anyway, I would like to talk more about what you mentioned about the ocean, because the title that was chosen by the National Academy is a prosperous marine and archipelagic nation by the year 2050. So the keywords are marine and archipelagic. Why did they choose that title? Because of a preferred future, which is a prosperous archipelagic and maritime nation. There are many reasons why we should really talk about an archipelagic and maritime nation. First of all, the coastal and marine features of the Philippines. We have 7,640 islands. Parang dumami na. Nung secretary ako, 7,100 lang yan. Okay.
Low tide, sir, yan, low tide.
Low tide noon. Okay. And we have the fifth longest coastline in the whole world. About 80% of our territory is water. And the center of marine biodiversity is here in our country, the Coral Triangle. There are 62, I think out of 80 provinces, which are coastal, 61 coastal cities, and 832 out of 1,600 coastal municipalities. 60% of our population reside in coastal areas. So the role of marine and archipelagic is very important. The Philippine archipelago and maritime culture is also something to consider. We have been called a seafaring culture since the Balangay history. There have been 2,000 years history in terms of boat making, 3,000 years of maritime trade history, and 4,000 years of sea outward migration, shown by archaeological evidence. Kaya hanggang ngayon po, marami pa rin tayong seaman. But I think in terms of numbers, the so-called Philippine Blue, because we call our economy going to a blue economy, there are a number of sectors that really make up our Philippine Blue. One is tourism, resorts, and coastal development. Another one is fisheries and aquaculture, which make up 20% of the contribution to the blue economy. The tourism contributes 25%. Coastal manufacturing, so this constitutes 19%. Our ports, shipping, and marine transport constitute 12% of the contribution to economy. Energy, which includes electricity, gas, and water supply, is 11%. And marine and quarrying, that means offshore oil and gas, is 7%. That includes seabed mining. And marine biotechnology and medicine, where is that? Marine biotechnology and medicine. Hindi ko makita dito, but it is also part of the contribution to the blue economy. And we have also marine technology and environmental services. So it is really worth looking at the country as a marine and archipelagic nation because there is so much potential. The resources are not only living but non-living. So under the sea are very rare elements and things that, of course, have very high value. Now, the sectoral share of the ocean economy in terms of gross value added, the largest is ocean fishing, which is 31%. Second, this is followed by the manufacture of ocean-based products, almost 22%. We have sea-based transportation and storage, which is almost 15%. We have ocean-based power generation, which is 11%. And we have the coastal accommodation and food and beverage sector, which is 21%. I think we are still fresh in our minds is the recent discovery of natural gas under Prime Energy, and there are more that are expected to be discovered. So the archipelagic nature of the Philippines provides rich marine resources, tourism potential, and strategic maritime advantages. However, it also creates certain challenges like transportation and connectivity challenges, disaster risk, and uneven development, which we can see among the regions. Now, what does Pagtanaw 2050 contain? It has been written, but it should not remain as a document. It should be something that is living. The first part, the section 1, is the making of the document, which really included people from the different areas of arts and sciences and humanities. So this document was not only done by engineers and scientists, but also by social scientists who have been involved. The other section would be an observation of the mega trends. There is something that, of course, needs to be updated because of the existence of COVID during the 2019 to 21 period. There has been so much written about pandemics in Pagtanaw 2050. And of course, the other thing that we think should be looked at as a megatrend is in the space technologies, which has been reported earlier. Now, setting the sights on the future has to be consistent with the Philippine goals and aspirations. So we had the goal as developed by NEDA, this ambition 2040, and every 5 years we have a medium-term development plan that contains the vision and goals. But really, we need something that can transcend the different administrations for continuity. Well, I can say that maybe DOST is one of those departments who has continuity in terms of programs and projects. Now, we also identified the so-called key operational areas, which I will show after this, where our efforts should be directed and which should be considered by the different stakeholders in our economy. And then we had a section which dealt with the uncertainties, the risk, the shocks, and the black swans. Initially, I didn't know what black swan means. But anyway, this is leading to a roadmap for the future to ensure continuity and relevance. So in preparing this document, they used 550 references, and they listed 207 technologies that they studied. So the most important part now is the next slide, which maliit na naman, identifies the different key operational areas that are important in attaining a prosperous archipelagic and maritime nation. Although this is still subject to review because some people think that we can still reduce the number of key operational areas. So food security and nutrition is one. Energy is another. Environment, well, of course, maybe I should go from top to bottom. Food security and nutrition is one, and related to that are health systems. The next one is energy, and related to that is water, okay, because they also compete. The next one is environment and climate change, and we have space exploration that was explained earlier. This is something that our review showed should be given, shall we say, more attention. We have shelter, transportation, and infrastructure. We have governance. We have business and trade. We have science education and talent retention. We have the so-called blue economy, and we have information and communications technology. Among these 12, there are about 3 that are considered enablers. They cut across all these sectors, and these are governance, science education and talent retention, and information and communications technology. We emphasize on talent retention because, Mr. Chair, we have observed when the DOST, through the National Science and Development Board, started in 1958, we started the scholarship program. In 1960, we have about, well, less than 100 scholars a year. Today, we are producing 10,000, we are taking in 10,000 new freshman scholars every year. And so we have graduated so many. Now, what is the issue? Where will they go? Okay? Very few companies have R&D. The ones who have are mostly multinationals. We have very few new items for researchers. We have very few new items for teachers who can teach science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. And so we have actually relaxed the requirement. They don't have to work with a government agency when they graduate, for as long as they stay here and do something related to technology development. And retention is very important. This is one area that is being studied by the National Academy of Science and Technology, the issue of retention. Now, one obvious lesson in this Pagtanaw 2050 is the critical importance of science. And as according to an economist, Jay Farrar, he doesn't just mean vaccine development. He means social sciences, biomedical science, immunology, virology, mathematical modeling, economics. And you cannot just build that science when you think you need it. Investment in people, in teams, in infrastructure over years provide the bedrock that is so important in a crisis. And we have observed that. Okay? It was only when we had the COVID when we started talking about the Vaccine and Virology Institute. Okay? And there were so many other things that we were not prepared for. Even the supply chain system was not working in the case of the pharmaceuticals. And we had difficulty because it was good that many balik scientists came during COVID. They helped a lot. Now, as a final slide, I just want to show that DOST, the National Academy of Science and Technology, is doing right now the following, developing indicators to know whether the vision is being attained, integrating this foresight into the Department of Science and Technology Planning, and having a training program that will capacitate key personnel in foresight and futures thinking methodologies. And finally, yung sinabi niyo, Mr. Chair, a strategic communication plan. So these are the things we are doing now. And as I said, when I became a member of the Academy, I was assigned to take charge of the updating. We have done the external review first. 3 organizations volunteered to do an external review. The National Alumni Association of Philippine Science High School did a review. They did a questionnaire system and a Delphi survey. The Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering did what they call a fireside chat to hear the thinking of Filipino scientists abroad. And finally, the Philippine Association for the Advancement of Science and Technology did the review by inviting people from industry because this was prepared mainly by academics. Okay? And so now we heard people from industry what they think about it. There are a few things that they have observed. One, it seems that there is no specifics on who will do the job. Second, there are no clear targets in milestone years. Because this is 30 years, there should be milestone targets. And third, there is no mention about how much it will cost. So, Mr. Chair, I submit this to you.
Thank you. Coordination and resource allocation. So that's the key to everything that we do. How you direct the resource determines the output that you want to attain. My father told me, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just adapt it. And I've done that all my life, and I've succeeded. So you don't have to invent a new thing. You just adapt what works. Adapt what works, apply to a Philippine condition, and then scale it up. So that we're here for that. The last thing you said was communication. Kaya I'm urging the community here, please. If you have a hard time with the GOCCs, let us know. So we will write them personally and tell them to provide block time or at least so many hours a month or a day for you to share your programs. To flash where to find you is already material. Kasi may makakakita niyan, and even in the radio, they will click on, it's a clickbait. So can you please? Because what you have to show is very interesting. You never know. All it takes is one nugget, one person who's committed. And there you go. I'm an alumnus of San Agustin, pero Makati. Okay, so I'd like to meet that couple that you mentioned. Yeah. My father supported San Agustin all his life. So anyway, that being said, please tell us what you need so we will create the legislation that you require. That's it. Okay, last but not least, TAPI, Technology Application and Promotion Institute. You have the floor. Hopefully, just keep it short and get to the point. You know me, I cut to the chase. I don't like wasting time. So your time is just as valuable as mine. Get to the chase. Tell us what you want, and if we can give it, we will give it. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, honorable members of the committee, distinguished guests, and colleagues. Uh, we will now be presenting what we do in TAPI and, as you mentioned, what we need. So we'll focus on those two things. For Thank you. Um, yeah. So DOSC TAPI was created, next slide please, was created under 128, Executive Order 128 in 1987, and its functions were expanded by RA 7459. Next slide please. So what we do are the following. These are the mandates of TAPI. It can be summarized into three. First, we assist inventors, Filipino inventors, innovations. When you hear of inventors, we are the go-to person. We are the go-to agency. I think that's in the whole of the government. When you hear of inventors, they go to us. Also, we promote the commercialization of technologies. So when DOST comes up with a technology, we promote its commercialization. We bring it to the market. And also we market the services of other units of the department, which includes laboratory services like packaging, testing, 3D printing, and more. Next slide, please. To realize its mandates, DOST provides a wide array of services to the public. Okay. So in DOST TAPI, we follow the innovation pathway of technologies from phase 1 to phase 4. What we do is follow how they develop technologies. For phase 1, we protect their rights. We have IP protection grants, which covers filing fees, fees even for the patent agents, both local and international filings. We have a tie-up with IPO Field to expedite the process. Also, for phase 2, we have pre-commercialization assistance. What we do is, if there is a technology, we try and test it if the technology is valid, if it's working, and after that, we test if the market will buy it. So that would be pre-commercialization assistance of TAPI. And when the technology is ready for commercialization, that's when we go to phase 3. We have several services, which involves 0% loans with very competitive terms. We also provide business development assistance, such as helping them develop their own company and register with SEC and DTI. These Filipino inventors, they know how to invent, but they are not entrepreneurs, so we help them with that. And in order for their technologies to be exposed to prospective adopters, investors, as I said, they are not entrepreneurs. They don't know where to find investors, so that's where we come in. We bring them to both local and international fairs, competitions, and fora. Okay, next slide, please. So, RA 7459, or Inventors and Invention Incentives Act of the Philippines, DOST TAPI is the one who implements this law. This is primarily for to provide institutional mechanisms that supports and empower Filipino inventors and innovators. Next slide, please. So under this law, we have NICE. Back one slide. Back again. There. So for under this law, we have NICE, or the National Invention Contest and Exhibits, which is a presidential award for outstanding local inventions, and it includes utility models, industrial designs, and creative researches. Those who win the NICE can travel abroad. So we have travel assistance that pays for their round-trip ticket, including the necessary expenses, so they can showcase their technology abroad. And we are happy to report that we have at least 40 winners already, gold, bronze, silver, in several events, like in Geneva, in Korea, Singapore, US. So we have done those things for our local inventors and innovators. And during those visits and competitions and fora, we try to tie them up with possible investors. For tax exemptions, we help issue certificates so that these local patent holders can go to BIR and have tax exemptions. For accreditation, Filipino inventors form societies. We call this Filipino Inventors organizations, and we accredit them so they can join the National Inventors Week, which is done every November of every year. For IGF, we manage the fund called Invention Guarantee Fund. This is used to fund the commercialization of local technologies so they can mass produce. This is the one that I mentioned with zero interest and competitive terms. Next slide, please. So where are we going? What do we want? What do we want to do and to be? In 10 years, the SITAPI aims to be a self-sustaining institution providing niche services that supports local R&D, emerging ventures, and international opportunities while generating revenue. So we want to generate revenue also. Building on our previous accomplishments, we began in 2023 by internationalizing IP applications. So we have international filings for our local inventors, funding spin-offs and startups, launching our virtual exhibit platforms. In 2024, we strengthened commercialization and we strengthened internationalization and also for the commercialization of local technologies. In 2026, we will expand Filipino technologies globally through international IP strategies, business summits, and broader technology platforms. And in 2027, we plan to increase foreign partnerships by establishing regional and international hubs and attracting investments. From 2028 to 2032, that's for several years ahead, we aim to become a recognized partner in technology transfer and commercialization while continuing to provide innovative and practical solutions. Next slide, please. So now we go to challenges. So as we mentioned, we go straight to challenges. What do we need? What help do we need from the Honorable Committee? Right now, we have insufficient funds to support our programs. Right now, we have 270 million budget for all of our activities, and just for commercialization, it's already insufficient. We had one evaluation last month, and this local technology, it's called MOCOV. It's a mobile hub. It's actually a mobile command and a control vehicle triage with triaging. Okay. This one is a unit that goes to disastrous areas, and it's a complete package. And their funding requirements is already 150 million. That's for just one project. And we have 270 million for whole TAPI. So that's how insufficient funds we have. And these are for cutting edge technologies. If we will fund only the oil extracts, I think the funds is enough. But we cannot go to AI and those other more advanced technologies with the funds that we have. So that's for the limited funds that we have as our main concern. Also, right now we have a problem. This is more on the inventors. Tax provision interpretations. The BIR has shifting interpretations of the tax exemptions of patented inventions. They used to apply exemptions to all kinds of taxes as provided by the law. It says all kinds of taxes exempted as inventor. They used to exempt inventors for income tax, VAT, excise tax. And they also applied to their own corporations. But after several years, they changed their mind. They said it's only for income tax, no longer VAT, no longer excise tax, and it's no longer for corporation. It's for sole proprietorship only. So your corporation is not eligible anymore. So this caused problems to inventors. They received deficiencies in tax payments. So nagkaroon ng retroactive effect, and it's really problematic. Okay. So that's what we have, a big problem It's how BIR interprets the law. So they told us to go to the Congress, change the law, and make it clear. Next is limitations on the use of IGF. IGF is a 10 million annual fund for annual funding for commercialization of technology. This is the same fund which we use to send inventors abroad for international exhibits. But bulk of the funds is for commercialization. However, in addition to the meager amount of 10 million per annum, there are restrictions in the law. It's in the law already that only patented technologies can avail of it. Meaning, if you have patent pending, you cannot avail yet. But for IPO field, of course, it's understandable you do not get the patent right away. There's a waiting period. And by the time that they receive the patent, paubos na yung life ng technology nila. So almost like 5 years na lang. So konting-konti na lang talaga yung window. Okay. Also, for IGF, another problem is another problem with IGF is how they utilize the funds. Okay, it's really hard for them to get the funds because it has a lot of screening. And lastly, venture financing. I think this is the most important, one of the most important challenge that we have with TAPI. Under EO128, TAPI has a mandate for venture financing. However, even if we want to finance venture, like invest, we cannot because our structure is not ready for it. COA said you need a law for that. Kailangan you are authorized to invest. Otherwise, you cannot do that. So we cannot really do investment, and that investment is really what local inventors need, not really loans. And that would be all for us. Thank you po.
Thank you. I'd like to share something. I'm about to file a House bill. Okay, I did this and I discovered by surprise that the House bill that I am to file, if adopted by the House and the Senate, will do away with real property tax, estate taxes, and be able to reduce the VAT from 12% to 8% across the board. And on top of that, we'll still have 21 billion allocable funds after eliminating all three taxes. And it's a progressive tax because it's going to tax only those in the 1% of the economy who can afford and who want to avail of this particular act. Okay? It will, imagine each allocation will only involve 5,000 individuals, but will raise around 57 billion, which will allow us to do away with real property taxes, estate taxes, and have on top of that a surplus of about 21 to 25 billion allocable, and hopefully the bulk of it we can share it with the department. Anyway, just to let you know, I'm excited about that. That's what consumed my last week. That being said, let me now move for the adoption of the following House resolutions. I understand that the presence of Congresswoman Charisse Hernandez, who's here, she sponsored the second and third House resolutions, and the Honorable Amintado will sponsor the first and the fourth. Okay, so please, either of you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I move to sponsor House Resolution number 292, a resolution congratulating and commending Professor Dr. John Michael Maratas of Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology for being recognized by Research.com as the #1 scientist and researcher in physics in the Philippines, and commending MSU-IIT for being ranked as the country's top university in physics, bringing great honor to Iligan City and the nation, by Representative Celso Regencia. And also, Mr. Chair, I would like to sponsor House Resolution number 497, resolution recognizing Pagtanaw 2050, the Philippine Science, Technology, and Innovation Foresight and Strategic Plan as the country's core plan for science-based national development, by Representative Adrian E. Salceda. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Esteemed colleagues, good afternoon. It is my honor to sponsor House Resolution number 439, a measure that celebrates the brilliance of the Filipino youth in the field of engineering and sustainable design. We are here to commend the Philippine winners of the 2025 James Dyson Award, an international design competition operating in 28 countries. It empowers students and recent graduates in engineering and design to develop commercially viable, sustainable solutions to real-world problems. And this prestigious international competition challenges students to design something that solves a problem. So our winners, led by national winner John Carlo Luna Reyes for his solar-powered salt maker Sol Asin, have shown that Filipino engineering can solve local problems with global standards. So, as the runner-ups, JV Mar Sumagang and John Joseph Bantikel from MSU-IIT for Chillwise, an eco-friendly cooling panel system made from an agricultural waste, and Sandru Rohel Eya, Jojane Nalam, and Gwendolyn Almonte from MSU-IIT for Lambupli, a sustainable material combining bamboo and grass as an alternative to wood. By adopting this resolution, this August body sends a clear message that the Philippines supports its inventors. We are not just consumers of technology, we are creators of it. So let us be part of commending these young minds, proving that Filipino ingenuity will always be at par with the best of the world. So I move for the adoption of House Resolution number 439.
Okay, there's a motion. I'm really glad that those who are here are all beneficiaries and or sources of these awards. Pagtanaw, the TAPI, the National Science Academy, and the DOSC itself. So we're here for you. There's a motion to adopt all these four resolutions. Do we have a motion?
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, there was a motion duly made, seconded. The resolutions are adopted. Finally, just as important, this is a matter that's very personal and material to my colleague, our vice chair. He started this in the 19th Congress. His father was part of this. This is the bill on the Meteorology Act. And we urge our colleagues in the House to pass this post haste because this is very important as far as giving standardization and to have respectability and integrity in the way we measure any item. That being said, the Honorable Marquez has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, to our chairman, our esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Mr. Chair, we have convened the Technical Working Group for the creation of the National Measurement Institute of the Philippines, and I am pleased to report that the TWG has undertaken thorough, productive, and forward-looking deliberations. In this bill, we have introduced substantial and technical amendments, carefully studied, discussed, and refined with the guidance of our resource persons and stakeholders. At the outset, allow me to extend our sincere appreciation to the representative of the 1st District of Bukidnon, Representative Joman Alba, who presided on my behalf over the proceedings during an urgent call to this session. We likewise express our gratitude to our resource persons, most especially our partners from DOST, whom my father and I have closely worked and supported since the 19th Congress. Mr. Chair, if we are to be candid, the Philippines is significantly behind our neighbors, Vietnam, Thailand, and even Indonesia, when it comes to metrology systems. The TWG discussions made this gap unmistakably clear. We identified 3 persistent structural constraints: low funding, insufficient technical manpower, lack of accessible and fully functional calibration laboratories. These constraints are not merely technical. They directly affect our trade competitiveness, our manufacturing capability, our product development, and our overall industrial growth. Mr. Chair, one key policy question raised during the discussions was whether the National Metrology Board should continue to exist under its current structure within the DOST Industrial Technology Development Institute. And for the record, the board, chaired by the DOST Secretary and composed of various agency representatives, has not convened a single meeting since the passage of Republic Act 9236 in 2003. This in itself signals a structural issue that can no longer be ignored. We therefore submit that the current board over a division model is no longer responsive to present demands. So allow me to highlight the key reasons. First, on autonomy and focus. A dedicated National Measurement Institute will have a clear mandate and institutional identity. It will no longer function as a subunit within a broader research institute, but as a specialized authority capable of responding swiftly to the demands of the industry, particularly in high-precision measurement, sensor systems, and data-driven technologies. Second, on international competitiveness. An independent institute strengthens our capacity to directly engage with global metrology bodies such as the METRE Conversion and the Asia-Pacific Metrology Program. Without internationally recognizing measurement standards, our exports face higher costs due to repeated testing abroad, placing our industries at a big disadvantage. Third, on funding and resources. Structure determines priority. A standalone institute ensures a dedicated budget line and enables long-term investment planning. At present, our metrology funding remains only a fraction of that of our neighboring countries. Without structural reform, this gap will persist. Fourth, on legal mandate and enforcement. A modernized institute will provide stronger scientific support for regulatory enforcement, whether under the Consumer Act, the Clean Air Act, or other laws that require precise and reliable measurement systems. The current setup simply does not have the scope nor the capacity to fully support these functions. Finally, Mr. Chair, given that we are effectively repealing key provisions of the existing law, it is both necessary and prudent that we include clear transitory provisions to ensure continuity, institutional stability, and a smooth and orderly transition to the new framework. In light of these findings and refinements, the Technical Working Group respectfully recommends the approval of the measure at the committee level and its subsequent referral to the Committee on Ways and Means for the consideration of fiscal and economic implications, and its endorsement to the Committee on Appropriations to ensure adequate and sustained funding support. Mr. Chair, my colleagues, what we are addressing today is not just a technical gap. It is a national gap. And it is our responsibility to close it. Because when our measurements are weak, our systems are weak. But when our measurements are precise, our nation becomes stronger, more competitive, and future-ready. And let me end with this. Kung gusto po nating umangat ang ating bansa, simulan natin sa tamang sukat, tamang sistema, at tamang direksyon. Dahil ang kinabukasan ng bayan, hindi hinuhulaan. Ito po ay pinaghahandaan. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair, and I would like to submit to you the substitute bill, an act establishing the National Measurement Institute of the Philippines and appropriating funds therefore.
Thank you, the Honorable Marquez. I was right in appointing you as the head of the Technical Working Group. You know more than us. I don't claim to know this, and I'll be the first to admit it. Well, however, in us, in me, you have the support of the structural reform measure. I am the father of the EPIRA. I was the co-author of the General Banking Act, the Securities Act of 2000, among others, and also the adoption of the worst against the worst forms of child labor when I was labor chairman. That was the fastest adopted resolution by the ILO. It only took like 110 days. Anyway, when it comes to structural reform measure, this representation will fight for you on the floor. So, I have a motto, kung gagawin din lang natin, bilisan na natin, huwag natin bagalan. Okay? Festina lente. Let's make haste properly or slowly. Okay? No faster, no slower than we absolutely have to. Okay? Do we have a motion to accept the technical working group's presentation of a substitute House bill?
Yes, motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Okay, there's a
And
motion.
also, I would
Do we
like
have
to make a move that
the substitute bill?
that the representatives present here be one of the co-authors of that metrology
Absolutely.
bill, and also the resolutions being adopted. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, Julie made, it's seconded, it's for all of you. Please note, those who have been here, including the Representative Ilago was here earlier, be made a co-author of this bill, and we will file this post haste. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I don't believe there's any other matter. Do we have a move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
The second motion.
Okay, the meeting of Committee on Science and Technology is adjourned. 1 hour, 20 minutes. Good.